That school presents Quadratic Equations 4. Let us once again remember that in a quadratic equation, the highest power or the exponent of the unknown is 2. Sometimes it isn't easy to factorize a quadratic expression. In such situations, you can just go ahead and apply the quadratic formula, which goes like this. In the equation ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, a and b are called the coefficients of x squared and x, and c is called the constant term. Now the quadratic formula tells us that x is going to be either equal to negative b plus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, written as 4ac, all of that divided by 2 times a. And the other value, remember it's a quadratic equation, so we are expecting 2 values for x. The other one is going to be x is equal to minus b minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2 times a. The only difference between the two answers is the sign out here. Therefore, often we combine the two answers and go on to say that x is equal to negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over twice a, or 2 times a. You can think of the two answers being combined or clubbed together into one form. This one contains this and this both. This formula is obtained by applying the method of completing the square on the given equation. The expression under the square root, b squared minus 4ac, this has got a name. It's called the discriminant of the quadratic equation. Discriminant of the equation. And it's got some real significance over here. Because it's a quantity under a square root, and you cannot have a negative quantity under a square root if b squared minus 4 times a times c, if all of this is a negative quantity, you don't have a real answer for x, because you cannot find the square root of a negative quantity. If, however, this is a 0, plus or minus doesn't really matter, because square root of 0 is 0, and whether you do a minus b plus 0 or minus b minus 0, adding or subtracting 0 doesn't really make much of a difference. So if this is equal to 0, the discriminant, you just have one single value for x that fits into the equation. And if this is a positive quantity, which means you do a minus b plus something or minus b minus something, you end up getting 2 different values of x. Time for us to review a couple of examples. Let's say we have 4z squared plus 3z minus 3 is equal to 0. And we want to solve this equation using the quadratic formula. Our first job is to write down the values of a, b, and c. The moment we have that, we can plug those values into the formula. X is equal to negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over twice a. Now if you compare the given equation with az squared, obviously the variable over here is z, not x, plus b times z plus c, it's pretty obvious that a is equal to 4 or a positive 4, b is equal to 3 or a positive 3, but if you look at c, c is a negative 3. So let's keep that in mind. The signs are important. So we have x is equal to negative b, which is negative 3, plus or minus square root of b squared, which is 3 squared, minus 4 times a is 4, times c is negative 3. All of that divided with 2 times a, which is 4. And that simplifies to, let's try and simplify the quantity under the square root first. Negative 3 plus or minus square root of 3 squared is 9 This negative multiplies with this negative to give you a positive quantity. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 3 is 48. So we have a 9 plus 48 under the square root over 2 times 4 is 8. Which is equal to negative 3 plus or minus square root of 57 all over 8. Now this has got two answers. Either it's negative 3 plus square root of 57 over 8 or negative 3 minus square root of 57 all over 8. These are the two values for x that would fit in to this equation. If you have access to a calculator, you can go ahead and evaluate this square root of 57, but often you can leave it as a surd in the simplified form. Let's try another one. Let's say we have the equation x squared minus 2x plus 3 is equal to 0. If you want to use the quadratic formula, you must find a, b and c first. Now what's a? A is the coefficient of x squared. We don't see any number out here. Now if you don't see any number, it means it's 1x squared. After all, 1 times anything is that same thing. So 1 times x squared is x squared. So a is actually 1. That's not written down. What's b? B is the coefficient of x. That's a negative 2. And c, of course, is the constant term, which is positive 3. So there you have a, b and c ready to be plugged into the formula. Remember, x is equal to negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. This is equal to negative b, where b itself is negative 2. Therefore, we have negative of negative 2. That turns out to be a positive 2. Plus or minus square root of b squared. B is negative 2, square of that, minus 4 times a is 1, times c is 3, all of that divided with 2 times a, which is 1. This is going to be equal to minus negative 2 is positive 2, plus or minus, what's under the square root now? Negative 2 squared is 4. Minus 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. So we have a 4 minus 12 under the square root all over 2. No need to proceed because 4 minus 12 is a negative quantity. 4 minus 12 is negative 8. We have a negative quantity under the square root, which means the discriminant out here is negative. The discriminant is negative, which means x is not a real number. There's no real number that would fit into this x over here on this equation, so that all of this is equal to 0. That's exactly how you use the quadratic formula to solve quadratic equations.